My wife handed me the report, the words "diagnosed with schizophrenia" leaping out at me. Sincere, I'm sick again. What do you think we should do? I glanced at the doctor standing behind her and let out a cold laugh. Nothing to be done. Let's get a divorce. Victoria Ashworth clearly hadn't expected this response, her face etched with surprise. For over a year she'd used every excuse imaginable, faking bankruptcy, faking amnesia, faking insanity. She constantly tormented me, leaving me mentally and physically exhausted. Since it had come to this, I would grant her wish. 1. It wasn't just yesterday or the day before that I discovered Victoria was cheating on me with Ethan Hayes. Lately she'd been pushing me, trying to force those two words and divorce out of my mouth. She'd even produced countless fake medical reports. When I saw them emerge from the bedroom again, the messy kiss marks told the whole story. Are you crazy? You want to divorce me? I forced a bitter smile. Isn't this what you've been dreaming of day and night? When she started visiting the hospital frequently, gradually staying out all night, making excuses about feeling unwell and avoiding any physical contact with me, I knew our relationship had reached its end. We'd been married for 7 years, always splitting expenses right down the middle. She had her company, and I had my small business. She used to say we were independent individuals, that neither should depend on the other. But seeing Victoria work herself to the bone, I slowed my own pace to take care of her as best I could. Now, though, she sneered, your little business probably went under, right? If it weren't for me, you'd be sleeping on the streets by now. Ethan Hayes chimed in. Unsincere, Victoria is emotionally unstable right now. Don't provoke her. I looked at Victoria, my heart filled with bitterness. Is that so? With Dr. Hayes here, surely there's no fear she won't be cured. My sarcastic tone enraged Victoria. What do you mean by that? Dr. Hayes is a top surgeon, we're just friends. I didn't want to hear any more, didn't want to get dragged further into this. Turning my back on the home we shared, I went to a bar to drown my sorrows. Not long after we married, Victoria got pregnant. For the sake of her career, she aborted the child without discussing it with me. She even brainwashed me, saying being child-free was common and perfectly fine. I compromised, retreated step by step, and for the last 3 years I dedicated myself entirely to taking care of her. The result? She fell in love with someone else and grew to despise me. The next day, holding the divorce papers I'd prepared, I knocked on Victoria's office door. Dressed in a suit I hadn't worn in ages, I sat down opposite her. Victoria frowned. Sincere, what is the meaning of this? Are you drunk or have you lost your mind? I laughed self-deprecatingly. Neither. Aren't you the one with schizophrenia? Who's really lost their mind here? Then Victoria tore the divorce agreement to shreds, looking down her nose at me haughtily. And Kai was just joking with you. Do you have to be like this? I stood up angrily, my voice dropping several degrees. Joking? You know perfectly well whether it's true or not. And since you refuse to sign, we'll go through the legal channels. Her eyes filled with contempt and sarcasm. Aren't really? Playing hard to get? Or are you just jealous of Ethan? If this is about that little incident a while back, I think you should be more magnanimous. I couldn't help but sneer. Jealous? What right do I have to be jealous? What exactly would count as a big deal to you? Just then, Ethan Hayes walked out of the private room in her office, the lounge I had designed specifically for Victoria after we married. I hadn't slept in there more than once, yet here was Ethan, emerging in his pajamas. Sincere, your mood seems really off. Could you have some kind of anger management issue? Maybe I could refer you to a doctor. And then I shot back sarcastically. Really? Instead of working, you prefer playing the male homewrecker in someone else's office? Victoria flew into a rage, grabbing things and throwing them at me. A sharp object cut my forehead, and blood trickled down my cheek. A flash of panic crossed her eyes, but I just gave a miserable laugh and left. I heard her employees whispering, "What right does Sincere Miller have to lose his temper with Miss Ashworth? He's just a kept man." 2. In everyone's eyes, I was merely an appendage to Victoria Ashworth. Even if I initiated the divorce, no one would take it seriously. They'd just think I was making a fuss over nothing. I went to the hospital alone to get my wound treated. There was a time when Victoria would have worried herself sick if I'd even scraped my skin. She would have stayed up all night by my side, comforting me gently. But now there was no place left for me in her heart. Coming out of the treatment room, I ran into Ethan Hayes, dressed in a white coat, looking smug as he blocked my path. He looked down on me, relentlessly provocative. "Insincere, who do you think you are?" Victoria wouldn't even give you a second glance now. I clenched my fists, not bothering to even look at him. "Do you know how passionate Victoria was with me on your birthday? We were up in a high-rise watching you wait in the rain for 4 hours. Feeling upset, you cuckold? Can't handle it? And I haven't even pulled out all the stops yet." So that was the truth. My birthday a month ago, Victoria had said she had a surprise for me. The surprise was watching me being played for a fool by them. Returning to that house, looking at the mess everywhere, I could only find it laughable. In previous years, worried about Victoria's company, I had channeled significant resources to her, even asking my friends in the business circle not to tell her. I was never just the owner of some small studio. I was the CEO of a company about to go public. She always felt the current me wasn't good enough for her, just a man living off her success. I started packing my bags, unwilling to stay in this house any longer. My friend Marcus Graham called, sincere about Victoria's latest project. "You handle it." There were a few seconds of silence on the line. "Did you two have a fight?" I threw the last piece of clothing into the suitcase. "No, we're getting divorced." Marcus was shocked. He knew better than anyone how much I had given up for Victoria. "Well, you know, honestly, Victoria's proposal isn't viable. And these past few years, if it wasn't out of respect for you." I pressed my lips together. "I know. I'll treat you to dinner tonight." Walking out of that house with my luggage, I suddenly felt a sense of liberation. Inside the upscale restaurant, my friends looked at me, slightly intimidated. "Sincere, why the divorce?" I didn't speak, just took a sip of wine, rubbing my finger along the glass, a mocking smile playing on my lips. "Maybe she feels I'm not good enough for her. Contre-toi? There are so many women chasing you, your company's about to go public, and she still looks down on you?" Marcus immediately flared up. I shook my head, unwilling to say more. As we were drinking and chatting, Victoria appeared on the other side of the restaurant, arm in arm with Ethan. Seeing us, she immediately rushed over and smashed her wine glass on the floor. "Sincere Miller, haven't I told you I hate men who drink?" I was speechless. Standing up, I asked her, "What? You hate men who drink, but you like it when Ethan drinks, is that it?" 3. Ethan took over the conversation. "That's because I'm stressed from work, just having a little drink. Unlike you, hanging out with this bad company." My friends were furious. They'd never been insulted like this, especially not by some insignificant nobody. I held them back. Victoria snorted coldly, speaking with supreme confidence. "If you're going to be like this, don't bother coming home. I've been having terrible insomnia lately and can't stand the stench." "Fine." Seeing how readily I agreed, Victoria couldn't stand the strange looks from everyone else and left with Ethan. My friends saw the situation clearly now. It was simply that Victoria, feeling somewhat capable herself, had found a new lover. Late that night, just after I got back to my large apartment in the city center, Victoria called, furious. "Where did you go? Are you really not planning on coming back? Do you have a mistress outside? Is that why you won't come home?" I found it truly amusing. She was the one who had pushed me to this point, yet now she spoke like the victim. "No." I thought I made myself clear. "Let's get a divorce." Victoria cursed a few times, then laughed. "You're not trying to use the divorce to get more money out of me, are you? When we agreed to split expenses from the beginning. I haven't fallen so low as to need a woman's money." After I said that, there was silence for a few seconds on her end. Just as she was about to speak again, I hung up. Another provocative video arrived from Ethan. They were having a candlelit dinner in that house. In the video, Victoria held a glass of red wine, her face flushed, her eyes glazed. She could call me 1 minute, then happily drink and chat with Ethan the next. Unsincere, I'll take care of Victoria for you tonight. After all, she hasn't been feeling well. Previously, I never responded to messages like this. I just wanted to endure it, hoping my pleading might soften Victoria's heart. This time, I replied directly, "Pun, take good care of her. After all, she has schizophrenia, bankruptcy, amnesia, quite a lot of problems. Pano, right, remember to remind her about the divorce, so you can move up in the world." I had just turned off my phone when Victoria called again. I didn't even need to think to know what she wanted to say. I set my phone to Do Not Disturb and went to take a shower. Ethan had used a consultation to get close to Victoria, scaring her with potential underlying conditions. One thing led to another, and they developed a deep connection. Her antics escalated, faking illnesses, all aimed at making me leave with nothing, forcing me to initiate the divorce. She tested my limits step by step, pushing further each time. Now that my heart was dead set on it, she should be quite satisfied. The next morning, I went to a nearby construction site. To avoid attracting attention, I dressed very plainly. Wearing a hard hat, I finished talking with the manager behind me, who then went off to arrange the work. Suddenly, I heard a familiar, mocking voice from behind. "Unsincere, you really can't make ends meet, huh? Telling me you won a divorce yesterday, and today you're here playing the victim on a construction site? And even if your studio closed down, I could still give you $100,000. I turned to see Victoria surrounded by an entourage, with Ethan at her side. They were inseparable. The dark bruises on their necks spoke of a passionate night. Ethan even stepped forward and shoved my shoulder. "Unsincere, hurry up and apologize to Victoria. Maybe she'll grudgingly give you some pocket money." I punched Ethan squarely in the face, radiating a keep away aura. "We're not even divorced yet, and you're already acting like the man of the house." 4. Victoria pushed me away, shielding Ethan, and roared at me, "How dare you lay a hand on Ethan?" I clearly saw the worry and pain in her eyes. Why shouldn't I? "If you're in such a hurry, sign the papers quickly. There's still a month in the cooling off period. Tantway, you two can be a proper couple, better than playing illicit lovers." The moment my sarcastic words fell, she slapped me hard across the face. "And sincere, fine divorce it is. Let's go to the registry office right now." Ethan fanned the flames. "Just want to take care of Victoria. I don't want to take your place." And Victoria, always easily provoked, heard this and told the driver to step on the gas even faster. After completing the procedures at the registry office, she maintained her haughty demeanor. "And don't come begging me if you can't make it on your own later." I looked at the two of them. "Fine, from now on we stay out of each other's lives." With that, I left. I had a pile of company matters waiting for me. I wasn't willing to waste any more time on them. I just needed to make sure for the time being that news of the company going public didn't reach Victoria to avoid complications. Most of the cooling off period passed. Then one day I attended a charity auction. Just as I entered, I saw Victoria holding Ethan's hand sitting in a corner. High society charity auctions were partly about showcasing strength and partly about networking. Since losing my covert support, Victoria's company had declined significantly. She tried to strike up conversations, but no one paid her any attention. I took the seat right in the center of the front row. Victoria immediately blew up, walking over and tugging at my sleeve. "Unsincere, are you crazy? This isn't a seat for a bricklayer like you." Ethan seemed intimidated by the scene but still spoke loudly. "Yeah, where did you borrow those clothes? Don't think putting on emperor's robes makes you the crown prince." I glanced at them contemptuously, my voice cold. "And the auction is about to start. It's inappropriate for you to make such a scene." Victoria ground her back teeth. "Don't ask me for money later." The auction began. The initial items were small, fetching hundreds of thousands or a few million. Victoria raised her paddle a few times but didn't dare actually bid. Later, an authentic masterpiece by a famous artist came up, with a starting bid of 30 million USD. My clear, cold voice resonated through the hall. 50 million. Victoria's eyes nearly popped out. That was half a year's profit for her company. 50 million? Any other bids? Being a charity auction, the price was already very high. Silence fell over the crowd. Just as the hammer fell, there was a loud crash from behind. It turned out Victoria had tried to leave and accidentally knocked over her chair. She covered her face and left, feeling secretly relieved as she walked out of the venue. Good thing she left quickly, otherwise Sincere might have tried to borrow money from her. When Sincere Miller makes a move, he's certainly generous. Yeah, his company is going public next month. Would he be short these few tens of millions? Victoria grabbed the middle-aged man's arm, asking incredulously, "What did you say, Sincere Miller? A listed company?" 5. She whipped her head around and ran back inside. I had just finished speaking with the event organizer when Victoria reappeared. She looked me up and down, then asked suspiciously, "Didn't your studio go bankrupt? How could it become a listed company?" I frowned slightly. My assistant had already pulled Victoria away. "Madam, Mr. Miller is currently in discussion. Please leave." Ensign followed closely, still shouting insolently. "And Sincere, don't think you can fool us by hiring actors." Victoria's face instantly turned ugly. In a place like this, in that kind of seat, how could there be any pretense? A few of my friends also walked out from inside. Seeing Victoria and Ethan, their expressions soured. Ethan asked in surprise, "What are you guys doing here?" My friend Marcus Graham spoke up. "What do you mean? Even us bad company can sit in the front row. How come you respectable people are sitting in the corner?" Marcus was the one behind this event. No wonder. Given Victoria's status, she shouldn't have been invited. It seemed Marcus wanted to help me vent some frustration. Ethan's face fell. He deliberately said, "In my family are all highly educated intellectuals, unlike you nouveau riche types. It's Victoria. I'll take good care of you from now on." Hearing the superiority in Ethan's voice, I couldn't help but laugh. "Really highly educated? I remember you graduated from a very average undergraduate university. So you don't actually think having a bachelor's degree makes you highly educated, do you?" Victoria shielded Ethan, her face full of resentment. "Sincere, you deceived me you were never bankrupt. Weren't you deceiving me too? Claiming you were just friends?" I retorted with a smile. Marcus and the others joined in the teasing. "Yes, Ms. Ashworth is so young and successful. How could Sincere possibly be worthy of you? The divorce will be final soon. This highly educated man should be stepping up." Ethan couldn't take it anymore and raised his fist, wanting to fight, but Victoria pulled him away. "Enough, haven't you embarrassed yourself enough today?" Victoria gave me a deep look, then disappeared down the corridor. Before, she might have ignored a penniless Sincere Miller. But seeing him so successful today, with his company about to go public, Victoria's heart wavered. Looking at Ethan beside her, she now felt a sense of annoyance. She had hoped to network with these people today. Now it seemed entirely ruined. "Victoria, why are you pulling me? Sincere is clearly lying to you. You don't still want to get back together with him, do you?" Hearing Ethan's words, Victoria snapped. "Oh, Ethan, how can you be so short-sighted?" With just that sentence, Ethan stormed off angrily. He had suffered enough humiliation today, and now Victoria was belittling him too. His fragile ego couldn't take it. Victoria stood there for a long time, beginning to regret her decision. Marcus patted my shoulder. "Actually, I meant to discuss this with you, but you've been too busy lately." I smiled, saying nothing. As I was leaving the venue, I saw Victoria still standing by the entrance. She tried to approach me, but was blocked again. "Sincere, why are you doing this to me? Is it so hard for a husband and wife to just be honest with each other? How many times have you been honest with me?" And didn't even bother looking at her and got straight into the car. 6. From the moment we married, Victoria was always very focused on money matters. Even though our relationship was okay back then, we still split expenses as she requested. She was terrified I would get my hands on her hard-earned assets, so I rarely even visited her company. Ever since her emotional and physical affairs began, followed by one farcical drama after another, my love for Victoria started to fade. Late at night, I was still working overtime at the company, ensuring everything was perfect before the IPO. The day before the divorce was finalized, Victoria burst into my office, ignoring the security trying to stop her. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "Sincere, what did you do to my company? Why are all the partners who used to work with me rejecting my proposals?" I calmly set aside my documents, my tone indifferent. "Your company has had smooth sailing all these years. Did you really think it was all down to your outstanding ability? When you saw my friends, didn't they look familiar?" These two simple sentences hit Victoria hard, making her tremble slightly. She had indeed had it easy for years, achieving whatever she set her mind to. But she never once considered that I was the one secretly helping her. Victoria pressed her lips together tightly, then snorted, "Oh, so what if I didn't have your help? I believe I could have made a name for myself with my own abilities." A hint of amusement touched my eyes. It seemed she truly had no clear grasp of her own capabilities. "Suit yourself." Hearing my cold words, Victoria stomped her foot in anger but was helpless. She had gone to great lengths to find my company's location. If she hadn't slipped past security today, she wouldn't even have been allowed upstairs. "Fine, I see you for who you really are now." After saying this, Victoria turned to leave. I stopped her. "Wait a moment." A smile immediately touched her lips, tinged with confidence. "Get your divorce certificate tomorrow. You'd better be early." Victoria turned back to look at me, her chest heaving with anger. "Fine, Sincere Miller. Well played. Does 7 years of marriage mean so little to you that you can just throw it away?" My voice grew heavy, my eyes devoid of emotion as I looked at her. Who was the first one to give up on this marriage? Victoria was escorted out by security. She couldn't understand how things had turned out like this. Her legs gave way, and she slumped onto a roadside bench, completely losing her composure. Looking at the towering skyscraper before her, the feeling of injustice grew stronger. She refused to believe that without Sincere's help, she would actually go bankrupt. The next day, outside the registry office, Victoria held Ethan's hand, waiting early at the entrance. They made no effort to hide their relationship, even wearing matching bright red couples outfits. Anyone who didn't know better might think they were there to get married. Ethan raised an eyebrow at me with a slight smile. "Sincere, you don't mind me coming along with Victoria, do you?" I replied mockingly. "Not at all. One cheats with righteous indignation, the other has the gall to be a mistress thicker than a city wall." Victoria, still protective of Ethan, warned me. "And Sincere, Ethan is my boyfriend now. I won't allow you to talk about him like that." She harbored resentment, seemingly trying to prove her choice wasn't wrong, even decisively confirming her relationship with Ethan during moments of inner conflict. However, when sitting at the processing window, Victoria subconsciously wanted to bolt. "I need to use the restroom." I deliberately provoked her. "What? Thinking of running away? 7. After so many years together, how could I not know Victoria's mind? She cared most about face. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to have people help her secretly without her knowledge. Sure enough, she immediately sat back down. "Sign it then. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" And coming out after receiving the divorce certificates, Victoria was still mocking me. "Don't go bankrupt right after your company lists. Apart from improving your housework skills these past few years, I don't think you're good at anything else. And whether I am or not, you don't need to know." With that, I drove away. I was genuinely curious to see how brightly she could shine without me. Marcus told me that Victoria's company situation was getting worse, Ethan was completely unhelpful, and the two argued constantly. Victoria had thought Ethan was a gentle, considerate man with some medical expertise. But ever since she learned that his so-called highly educated parents were just high school graduates and their only house was mortgaged, she became disillusioned. All the filters through which she viewed Ethan shattered. I treated it as a joke, completely uninterested in these trivial matters. After the company successfully went public, there was a research project concerning signal enhancement for communication devices. Lately, I spent every day researching equipment and code. This project was crucial, and local authorities were very supportive. 3 months later, just after finishing work, I saw Victoria chasing after a young man. When we spent a month revising this proposal. This is the 5th version. You can't just say no like that. Ms. Ashworth, out of respect for our previous collaboration, I've given you plenty of time, but you can't try to fool me with this stuff. The young man shrugged off her hand, causing Victoria to stumble and almost fall. Pretending I hadn't seen anything, I walked towards my car. But Victoria blocked my path, glaring at me through gritted teeth. "It's all your fault. You're the reason my company can't operate normally now. And Sincere, don't you think doing this is disgusting?" I frowned at her, then gave a mocking curl of my lips. "And think I specifically targeted your little business, making all your partners break ties with you? Sometimes you should look for reasons within yourself." Victoria's pent-up hatred had nowhere to go. She had tried many solutions, but the company was simply unviable. "Sincere, you're deliberately messing with me, aren't you?" I couldn't be bothered with her and drove straight off. Her company going bankrupt had nothing to do with me. It was just that Marcus and the others had spread the word. Victoria and I were divorced, so people didn't need to hold back anymore. Victoria had already offended many people in this circle. I used to handle these behind-the-scenes issues for her. Now that everyone knew she had no backing, they carved up her company's resources. Even if Victoria wanted to salvage the situation now, it was practically impossible. Before I reached home, Marcus called, suggesting dinner. Arriving at the restaurant, I recognized Isabel Thorne instantly, just from her back. Her wavy hair cascaded down as she smiled at me. "Sincere, long time no see. Long time no see." 8. Isabel Thorne was a childhood friend of Marcus and mine. If the domestic economy hadn't slumped years ago, causing her family to shift their business focus abroad, we probably would have always been together. Isabel smiled. "And Sincere is still as brilliant as ever, actually getting a company to the point of listing. So I hear you're the angel investor of our circle now. Any project you back basically turns a profit," I replied, sitting beside her, acknowledging her excellence too. Isabel raised an eyebrow, took a sip of wine, and let out a quiet complaint. "Just your taste in women. Could use some work." Marcus nudged Isabel's arm, forcing a couple of awkward laughs. "Oh, you know Isabel, she always speaks her mind." I laughed out loud. She has a point. Throughout dinner, Isabel's gaze towards me was undisguised, growing bolder. Seeing this, Marcus made a swift exit. Whatever I asked her, Isabel wouldn't say. It was already 2 in the morning. After some thought, I decided to take her back to my place. The moment we entered, Isabel pinned me against the wall. "Sincere, can you consider me?" It dawned on me she had been pretending earlier. "Isabel, we're friends." Isabel lost her powerful businesswoman demeanor, her eyes welling up with tears. "What friends? When I went abroad back then, there was a confession letter inside the doll I gave you. Why didn't you reply? Even if it was a rejection, you should have said something." I frowned deeply, searching my memory for a long time before recalling the incident. But I genuinely didn't know there was a confession letter in that doll. After she gave it to me, it just sat at home, untouched. I didn't find it." My voice was hoarse, and I felt slightly ashamed facing her. Back then, my sole focus was work. If I hadn't met Victoria, I wouldn't have slowed down. The company should have gone public years ago. Isabel's tears fell like broken strands of pearls. "So, can you give me a chance now?" And shook my head, gently pushing her away, full of apology. "And sorry, Isabel, I'm not ready for another relationship yet. And you're already divorced, aren't you? You still can't forget that woman, can you? Oh no, it's just, I want some time alone. Isabel gave a desolate smile and stumbled towards the door to leave. I caught her hand. It's late, and you've had quite a bit to drink. The guest room is clean. She finally stomped her foot and chose to stay in the guest room. From that day on, Isabel started appearing constantly in my life. She also invested in my company and took over part of the work. When it came to talent recruitment, Isabel indeed had a keen eye. We were both adults and didn't dwell on what happened that night. One day, as Isabel and I were coming out of a shopping mall, we happened upon Victoria and Ethan physically struggling. Victoria pointed at him. Where did all the money you took from me go? Ethan pushed her away, looking impatient. Didn't you give it to me? How can you ask for something back once it's given? Victoria was desperate, screaming hysterically. Then the car I bought you, why don't I see you driving it? What are you hiding from me? An older woman rushed out from behind them and slapped Victoria across the face. And my son didn't even mind that you're second-hand goods. What's wrong with taking a little money from you? And his younger brother and sister are counting on him. You're bankrupt now, so get lost. Victoria was stunned by the slap. She tried to fight back, but was no match for the mother and son. 9. She collapsed onto the ground, looking at Ethan with unwilling eyes. You were lying to me from the start, just for my money? Now that I have nothing, you're leaving? Ethan looked thoroughly disgusted. He adjusted his sleeves, completely ignoring Victoria. But Mom, let's go. Ain't she a son? The next one will be better. I quietly asked Isabel beside me, was this the real reason you asked me to come shopping with you? Isabel tilted her head with a smile. Indeed it was. I suddenly found it amusing. The usually measured Isabel also had this playful, almost childish side. Since the show was over, it was time for us to leave. Sincere, you're not angry, are you? Hearing Isabel's question, I shook my head. No. I had done everything I could for Victoria, and our marriage was long over. Whatever her final outcome was, what did it have to do with me? Victoria hurried over from behind. Seeing Isabel beside me, she pointed at her. Who is she? Sincere, don't tell me you've moved on so quickly. Or do you think you are? Victoria, don't forget, we are divorced. Hearing my words, Victoria immediately broke down. When you lied to me first, you planned to divorce me from the beginning. You never loved me. I roared back. Anu was the one whose heart changed. You had an affair with Ethan during our marriage. Now that you have nothing, you expect me to forgive you? From the very beginning, I had wanted to be clear with her about everything. It was Victoria who advocated splitting expenses. It was she who valued money so highly. To say I never loved her was absurd. If there were no feelings, why would we have married? When we first met, it was in a restaurant. The moment our eyes met, I felt my heart pound violently. It felt like, in that instant, my destined person had appeared. Married for 7 years, she cheated for 3. I had already given her countless chances. It was Victoria who always believed money was paramount, that having wealth and ability meant dominating the relationship. But how could one person's efforts sustain a marriage for 2? On the way home, Isabel asked me, will you help her? Tenno. My answer was firm. Victoria's current situation was entirely her own doing. The next morning, I had just arrived at the company when my assistant came in. Victoria was causing a huge scene downstairs, demanding to see me. But after the last incident where she barged into my office, no one dared let her in. And she keeps making trouble. Call the police. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the overcast sky outside, and Victoria standing downstairs. It was a familiar scene, just like the day I was abandoned. The same heavy rain fell, but Victoria showed no sign of leaving. The rain outside grew heavier, blurring the view downstairs. Isabel knocked and came in, asking if I wanted to have lunch together. I agreed, and Isabel and I drove out, heading towards a restaurant. Just as we exited the parking garage, Victoria blocked our way. She stood in the pouring rain, her face carrying an air of grim determination. 10. I got out of the car, seeing her drenched and miserable state in the heavy rain. Victoria bit her lip, speaking unwillingly. "Sincere, how could you do this to me? I have nothing now. Are you happy?" I looked at her without emotion. "What does you having nothing have to do with me? Are you blocking my car, trying to stage an accident for insurance fraud? And I'm not what fraud? So if it's not fraud, then why are you blocking my car? What do you want to say?" In the pouring rain, Victoria's face was streaked with rain, or perhaps tears. Her eyes were red. Her lips trembled several times as if wanting to speak, but she remained silent. I warned her, "Don't come to my company again. I will absolutely not see you." Seeing I was about to leave, Victoria finally revealed her true intention. "Aunt, I don't have a place to live anymore, and I don't have enough money. Can you lend me some?" I refused directly. "No." Victoria froze, thinking she might have misheard. Seeing the expression on my face, her demeanor changed instantly. She started shouting, "Sincere, if you hadn't deceived me, how would I have ended up like this? Can't you even help me with this small favor?" "Help you with what? Between us, who deceived whom first? Isn't your current situation entirely your own fault? But you were the one who cheated first. You were the one guarding that small company, terrified I'd take advantage of you. And it was you who faked all those illnesses, just wanting me to leave with nothing. Now you have your wish. Why aren't you happy?" After speaking in a cold voice, ignoring her pale face, I waved my hand. Security guards had to brave the rain to escort Victoria away again. She collapsed by the roadside, transferring all her hatred onto Ethan Hayes. A few days later, I saw the city's biggest news headline. A chief physician at a certain hospital had used medical consultations as a pretext to seduce numerous wealthy women. He repeatedly used various psychological diagnoses as a tactic to frighten these women, concurrently engaging in in-depth discussions. The amount defrauded reached over $100 million USD. Actually, I'd known for a long time what kind of man Ethan Hayes was. No money at home, with younger siblings to support. An average yet overconfident man, a Phoenix man type, accepting advances from anyone, deeply calculating. Now Ethan was sentenced, and the person who reported him was Victoria. She remained as vindictive as ever. She used to adore Ethan so much, I thought their feelings ran deep. When I first loved Victoria, I was willing to give her everything. Seeing her current state now only evokes a sigh of regret. Isabel told me that Victoria had only gotten together with me back then because she found me reasonably good-looking and thought I'd be easy to control. She expressed her love for me again, but I still chose to refuse. Right now, I didn't want to get involved in relationships. I wanted to focus on work. Victoria tried to find me a few more times later. After a few visits to the police station, she quieted down considerably. Over the next 3 years, my company became a national leader. But I had no scandals, considered a breath of fresh air in this circle. Isabel helped fend off many potential suitors for me. After waiting so long without a positive response, she went abroad again. The day she left, she asked me with red-rimmed eyes, "Do we really have no fate together at all?" I looked at her calmly. "I'm sorry." I never saw Isabel Thorne again after that. Only one day, by chance, while driving, I saw Victoria handing out flyers on the street. I raised the car window, not wanting to spare her even a glance.